Hi everyone, it's Heather from heatherdebreceni.com and empowerdivorcesummit.com. Today I'm happy to be bringing you the fifth and final part of Season 1, Episode 1 of the Empower Divorce Summit series. In Part 1, I shared with you some of my history with divorce and high conflict divorce. In Part 2, I shared with you the definition of high conflict divorce and some signs that you can look for to see whether or not you are either in the middle of or headed towards a high conflict divorce. In Part 3, I shared with you some tips on how you can turn some of that conflict around and or limit its impact on your life. In Part 4, I shared with you tips on what to do if your child is being used as the messenger for verbal abuse from your former spouse. And here in Part 5, what I'm going to be sharing with you is some tips on how to become a professional co-parent and how to be a better partner in the co-parenting relationship with your former spouse so that it can create a better environment for your children once you've gone through the divorce process. So again, this is Part 5 of Season 1, Episode 1. If you like the content that you hear in here, at any point, please feel free to click on the like button so that I know you like the content and I can try to get more of that same kind of content again in the future. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe so that you can be notified when I upload new videos and content from either the Empower Divorce Summit series or from my regular coaching practice. And also, if you find the information useful, please go ahead and share it so that you can share it with friends and family and people in your social circle that you think it might be beneficial to. And at the end of the video, stay tuned because I will share with you some information on how you can sign up for a complimentary coaching session with me to see whether or not I'd be a good fit to help you through your divorce journey. So I hope you enjoy Part 5 of Season 1, Episode 1 of the Empower Divorce Summit series.
The next thing that I wanted to sort of bring it to and kind of finish off with, in addition to these communication strategies, the first with your former spouse, the second if you have a child who has become the mouthpiece for your former spouse, the next best strategy that you can have in sort of ending or redirecting a high conflict divorce is to become a professional co-parent. And how you do that is by keeping your contact with your former spouse business-like. So just like you would treat someone in the business world is how you are going to continue your communication with your former spouse. So again, not personal. You discuss the business at hand only, not a whole lot of chit-chat on personal conversations. If you wouldn't act that way in a professional setting, then you should not be acting that way with your former spouse. So whatever way that is, if you wouldn't do it at work, if you wouldn't act that way with your boss, if you wouldn't act that way with a coworker, if you wouldn't act, whatever way with, a customer, then you should not be acting that way with your former spouse. Again, sometimes that's hard. And again, notice that this has nothing to do with your former spouse's behavior. All of these things have to do with your behavior. So you keep it businesslike, you avoid the personal conversation and attacks, and more importantly, and this one sometimes can be kind of hard, you refrain from telling your co-parenting partner how to do their job. You are not the supervisor of all things great and small. There is not one right way to parent. When you got divorced, you no longer have the right, the ability to control how the other partner parents. Again, we're not talking about severe abuse of the children. We're talking about just general parenting. So don't tell them how they need to tell the kids how to do their chores, what clothes they should be having the kids wear, what time bedtime should be. I mean, in a perfect world, you would be able to communicate with your former partner about these things. You would be able to set up these clear guidelines for what you want to do because it really, truly what is in the best interest of your children in your divorce is for them to have this sort of clear line that the rules are very similar in both houses. But if you can't agree on those things, you need to step back and understand that the only thing that you have control over is what you do in your home. So, if you do those things and you become that co-parent, the last thing that you can do on your own, it's not the last thing, but these tips, the communication, becoming a co-parenting partner, and keeping things professional. And then the last thing that you can do that, that will, or that I can suggest that you do, that will really help you in taking control of this situation is to become an expert on your case. Because once you do that, once you start really educating yourself about your case, you save yourself from heartache, a considerable amount of legal time, and money. And in a time when, in a high conflict divorce, you're not talking about a couple $100 spent. You're talking about thousands of dollars that can go to legal fees, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in these cases, to attorneys, to court filing fees, to experts. And that's what happens. It just continues to progress on and on and on. And so really by becoming that expert, you will save yourself from the heartache of that turmoil that can be created in your children's lives and seeing the impact of that. And, again, I just have to repeat, my case took 9 years. 9 years. So again, become an expert on your case. It is one of the best things that you can do for yourself and for your children and for your pocketbook. And you can also learn how to become, by doing all of these things, you can learn how and where to best advocate for yourself and your children. When you cut out all the personal attacks in your communication, when you learn how to set effective communication boundaries with your children, when you become a professional co-parent and you treat your relationship with your co-parenting partner as such, and when you become an expert on your case, it becomes really clear how and where you should be advocating for yourself and your children. So that helps a lot. And by doing these things, you will eliminate a significant amount of anxiety because you'll know what's happening in your case. You can avoid some really costly mistakes, and you can save yourself from having unanswered what-if sort of questions later on in life and in your relationship with your children. What if I had fought harder? What if I had learned how to communicate? Did I really do what was in the best interest of my children? And so, again, doing these things can really help you with that. But the number one thing, and the thing that is really a requirement when working with me, and that you will hear all of the experts talk about, is always, always, always put the best interests of your children first. Because things become clearer and easier to handle when you do that. And I know that that sounds sort of like, well, of course I'm going to put my best interests of my children first. That's really hard to do in such a personal matter because divorce is personal. It is adversarial. And unless you do a lot of work on yourself, it can become a very painful process, and sometimes those lines get muddied about what you are doing because you may think that you're doing things to protect your children, but really what you're trying to do is protect yourself from that pain and from, the future issues or whatever it is. And so just really taking the time to learn what that means, to put your children's best interest first, and to become clearer about your role in things, it will make things so much easier. So all that being said, kind of leaving on a serious note, I do tend to joke around a lot when I'm working with my clients, or at least moderately so. I know I've been pretty heavy in this conversation and in this sort of interview with myself, but I take what I do very seriously, because for me, my ultimate goal is to help a generation of children who are really facing the highest statistics for high conflict divorce thus far. Because while in our nation, the statistics for divorce are actually kind of lowering, so you're not quite seeing quite as many divorces as maybe 10 years ago, what is on the rise is high conflict divorce, because communication skills are sort of breaking down. And I think that divorce has become this sort of romanticized, you can villainize your former spouse in your divorce, and sometimes that can feel really good, but what ends up happening is that your children will pay the price for that. And so I do take that very seriously. So, that's all the time that we have for today. And, please remember that if you would like to take part in my special offer of the 45-minute Chaos to Calm Power sessions, just follow the directions that are listed in the bonus section for this interview. If you submit your application by no later than midnight on Wednesday, May 20th, you will be notified if you were selected to receive one of these coveted sessions by no later than midnight on Friday, May 22nd. So, deadline for the submission of your application will be May 20th, and then you will know by Friday, May 22nd, whether or not you were selected. And it has been wonderful creating and interviewing creating the summit and interviewing each one of the experts. And every time I would do an interview, I would get so excited because of all the great information that they give. And I just want to thank you for taking the first step to changing your situation by deciding to participate in this summit. And I really hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching Part 5, Season 1, Episode 1 of the Empower Divorce Summit series. And I hope that you found the information useful throughout all of the interview. And also, if you would like to see the text version of the transcript, follow the link in the comments below to my website, heatherdebreceni.com, and I have the full transcript there for you to look at and read. And if you like the information that you listened to here, again, feel free to give me a click on the like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And as promised, I'm going to give you some information on how you can sign up for a complimentary coaching session with me. In the comments down below, there is a link to my scheduling software. I conduct all of my coaching sessions via Skype so that I can see you and you can see me, and we can have a conversation about your divorce journey. In that complimentary session, I will give you some tips and advice if I think that I have information that's useful for you and that might help you along in your journey. I will also get a feel for whether or not I think that we would be a good fit working together as you move through your divorce journey. And then I will let you know, obviously, during that session. So if you would like to take part in that, feel free to follow the link down in the comments below. Like I said, it will take you directly to my scheduling software so that you can set that up. And thank you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.